So I made two videos about this initiative, and the first video got 89% downloads. Second one got 75% downloads. And at first I was worried about why so many people dislike what I said, but then I actually felt better for saying it because I really wanted to talk about it. And I'd like to make a third video. You see here, Vara Dark makes a post where she says, commenting on this topic here, you'll learn nothing and you'll be happy. And I think that doesn't apply here, that catchphrase. And also it is backwards, because if players use that catchphrase in connection to that initiative against the game developer, they're actually being the bad guys. So it's backwards here. Now, what I just said may sound extremely stupid to some of you, so I'll try to explain. So the catchphrase, you'll learn nothing, you'll be happy, is associated with the World Economic Forum and similar organizations that basically come up with ideas that nobody likes, and then those ideas are forced on populations of countries. And that's not happening here because Ubisoft isn't using laws to force something on you. It's the other way around. Players are trying to force laws on Ubisoft to modify their behavior to not do something or do something. Because I think, like, players and game developers, it's a symbiotic relationship. Like, we want quality entertainment, and game developers develop it and they sell it to us. And I think there should be like a baseline of respect between both sides. And by respect, I don't mean that you not should be allowed to say mean stuff to a game developer. I'm all for free speech. If somebody feels like the developer screwed up really bad, the player should tell it to the developer. And I think there's even value in being highly emotional about it, because the emotional irritation that's in the reply from a gamer towards the developer can be a great hint for the developer on how frustrated the player is with something about a game. But based on the respect, I mean, we shouldn't try to get the government laws to force the other side to do what we want, because that can backfire in pretty bad ways. I think on the gamer side, what I just said doesn't probably sound that as a good idea, because I think the emotional, it's way too emotionally charged on the gamer side. And that charge is being fired up by posts like that here, for example, where it says they're scared, keep them that way. And I don't agree with that, because why should I scare a game developer? For what? For turning off the crew? Because here's how it should work. If you don't like that the crew got turned off, or multiplayer, whatever, then if enough people don't like that, they probably remember it for the next game. So when the next crew game comes out, it will probably cause a dent in sales. And the developer, in this case Ubisoft, will probably think, okay, wait a minute. If we keep turning off that game thing, it might reduce the sales for the next game. And that's how they get the hit, and they probably won't do it anymore. That's how it's supposed to go. I think another part of it is that most professional game developers, they don't argue with their customers. Which means players live in this information bubble where they never get a straight answer from a game developer, because it's often considered unprofessional to argue with your customers when they don't like something. And if a developer actually talks back on a certain topic, doesn't matter if he's wrong or not wrong, just doing that, then you see a lot of YouTubers jumping on it with that attitude of how dare they talk back to us gamers. And so you have this highly distorted emotional environment where players basically demand or expect of a game developer to provide better and better quality entertainment with every new game without raising the price, by the way, in case you noticed. And then still being angry at the game developer all the time and accusing them of all sorts of things. And the developer, if they talk back in any way, the hate gets even more increased. And the third parties who make money off that, YouTubers who specialize on amplifying that type of rage. And here comes the plot twist, if you like. There's a game that recently got some controversy, which is Ready or Not. It's like a SWAT 4 type of game. Some of you may know it. And it released, I think the context here is it was on PC, now it's released on consoles. And several censorship bodies in various countries asked them to adapt some of the violence in the game to so it can be released. And a lot of players got angry at the game because you got like huge amounts of negative downvotes. So it's called review bombing. Like, for example, the little girl in the bed that was convulsing is now sleeping like that, and some characters here having wearing underwear instead of not wearing underwear. Okay. Now, this is basically government regulation working against players. See, it's not fun to have government regulation if it works against what you want. Now, officially, I think in the US, those rating bodies are independent of governments, but de facto, they're actually dependent on basically threats from lawmakers. I think that was even like one of the first rating agencies in the 90s was founded by the industry to avoid direct government interference into censoring. But so it's sort of like the government threatening them into either you self-censor or we do it. And I know in Germany, in Australia, and I think in England, it's mandatory by law to comply to the rating agency. And that's an example of government regulation going wrong, because somebody thought at some point we got to force on the gaming industry a law to modify their behavior so the games don't get too violent. And I think that's a great counterexample to not using government to force somebody else to do what you want. And let's be real, guys, all of us who played Ready or Not, at some point while playing this level, we tried out all types of different gadgets to see if that character reacts to it, like flashbangs, the C2 charge, and okay, let's just be real. And about the controversy in this game, I think it's calculated to get more sales because you have this high contrast, emotional, current issues thing going on, and they intentionally do it to raise the sales.